and welcome to another episode of NSE Finviz powered by Cnbc TV 18 Season 2. This week we're at the corporate office in Mumbai of one of India's leading FMCG players, Ruchi Soya.
Featuring among the top 5 FMCG players in India, Ruchi Soya is a leading manufacturer of healthier edible oils, soya food, premium table spread, vanaspati and bakery fats. It is also the highest exporter of soya meal, lecithin and other food ingredients from India. Established in 1986, Ruchi Soya has emerged as an integrated player from farm to fork, which secured access to oil palm plantations in India and other key regions of the world. Ruchi Soya has access with exclusive oil procurement rights to over 2 lakh hectares of land in India with the potential of oil palm cultivation. With a turnover of over $5 billion, Ruchi Soya is listed on the National Stock Exchange of India. Some of the trusted brands of Ruchi Soya include Nutrela, Sunrich, Ruchi Gold and Mahakosh. Focusing on our theme for the series, NSE Finviz visited Ruchi Soya in Mumbai to gauge thoughts and notions of the young employees on investments and financial planning.
Mutual funds is something which I'm coming across a lot, but I'm not very sure in terms of what should I look before in terms of which mutual fund I should get into.
I would like to ask a financial advisor about which home loan do I look out for and how does it affect my other investments and what kind of benefits will a home loan give me in terms of investment.
Well, investment means primarily a good return for money that you put in and safe and secure future. These are the two things and obviously a balance between safety and returns.
I would like to ask the financial experts if they could just shed some knowledge on ETF, how it works, and probably share some of their experience on market timing, how to time your investment.
Past 4 weeks in stock market was very volatile. So obviously my portfolio took a dip and then it went up and then again it went for a dip. So that volatility is something which I want to kind of come out of.
We'll be now joined by our two very special experts. We have Hemant Rustagi, who's the CEO at Wiseinvest Advisors. Welcome to the show, Hemant. And we have Nikhil Kothari, who's the Chief Financial Planner and Director at Etika Wealth Advisors. Nikhil, welcome to the show. First question to you. You know, recently the stock markets have been hitting all-time highs. There's been a lot of excitement, Nifty is hitting all-time highs. And people get really excited in two ways. Firstly, they said, oh my God, this is the time, this is the best opportunity to invest. Otherwise, they also think that maybe this is not the right time to invest because the markets will fall and they're waiting when it will fall, then I'll invest. How do you tackle this mentality?
Okay. So first of all, whenever investing in equity, you should know that what exactly your goal is. If your goal is for short term, say 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, then equity is not the right investment avenue for you. So it may market may be all time high or market may be all time low. But if you have short term goal, equity is not the right option for you. But if a long term goal, say 7 years, 10 years, then the short term of ups and downs will not matter to you. Whereas the long term, what you're saying is very huge growth story for India. So 100 points up or 100 points down will not matter to you if you really have a long term goal. So whenever investing in equities, first thing that how long will I investing for? So it's not when I invest. It all depends on how long will I investing for. Okay. So it's not how do I time the market, but it's all what is the time horizon what I have when I invest in equity market.
Okay. Hemant, so Nikhil is talking about depending on what your goals are, so whether it's short term or long term. Now when you go about goal setting, which is obviously a very important part of your financial planning, how do you advise people to set goals? Because sometimes it's just too overwhelming to think about what are my goals and how do I achieve them.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's quite amazing. Whenever we talk about financial planning, people generally think, oh, it's going to be very, very cumbersome process. And many a times actually investors don't even know what their goals are. So I think the process begins with understanding what your own goals are. So we actually sit down with investors, go through all their goals, because you have goals which you want to achieve in short term, there are goals which you want to achieve in medium term, there are goals which you want to achieve in long term. And the best thing is the moment you decide about your goals which you want to achieve over different time periods, it helps you in deciding your asset allocation. Right. Asset allocation is the most important thing when you talk about your investment, because that is what decides what kind of risk are you taking in your investment, the kind of return that you can get.
Hemant spoke about asset allocation. Could you what is asset allocation? If you could just explain that to us.
Okay, so there are a lot of assets, or there are a lot of places where we can invest. So start with something called as debt. In debt also you have various types. In debt you can also invest for very, very short term, which is called money market instruments. And in debt also you can invest for 3 to 5 years, which is like a fixed deposits or what you say a debt market, right? A short term debt fund. Then you have something called equity, which is for purely long term. And then you have commodities, which in India's parlance is more about gold. So you have different assets where you can invest, and last but not the least, which is the real estate, where we all India fancy about it. So there are different asset classes to invest in. Now, which asset class should I select? It depends on what your goals are. So if you have a goal which is for very short term, say for example you may need this money at any point of time, like something like contingency planning, that you may need this money at any point of time. So what we say that at least of 6 months of expenses should always be in very liquid assets. So that money should always be in something of very which you can liquidate at any point of time. That's where money market comes in. But if you have a goal say for 2 years or 3 years, then you can't, as Hemant rightly said, it's safety of capital is more important there. Then you should invest in fixed income, right, which is your fixed deposits or your debt funds. And then if you have a long-term goal, which is like 10 years, 15 years down the line, then you should invest in something which should be able to beat inflation. And that's where equities or real estate comes in.
What is the minimum quantity required for this electronic system, e-gold?
Okay, so Hemant, what is the minimum quantity required for purchasing of e-gold?
1 gram of gold is equal to 1 unit. So if you want, suppose you're buying through gold ETF, you can actually buy 1 unit, whenever you want. Or if you're doing through SIP, then typically, you decide whether you want to put 500 rupees every month or 1000 rupees every month, and depending on what the price at that point of time, you will get the units accordingly.
You're watching NSE Finviz powered by Cnbc TV 18 Season 2. It's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching NSE Finviz powered by Cnbc TV 18 Season 2.
My question is like I purchase e-gold and suppose after some days I want to get a physical gold.
Yes.
So how much time required from gold to physical gold?
Okay. Nikhil, you want to take this? So basically from e-gold, how long will it take to transfer it to physical gold? How many days?
So first of all, if you are buying through ETF, you need to have minimum quantity. So you can't, if you are say only 10 grams, you can't say that okay, give me 10 grams of physical gold. So minimum what in current context is 1 kg what they require. Okay, and within 10 to 15 days is the ideal time frame which they say that they will give you the physical gold. So but you have to collect from specific points. So there will be some document required which you need to have, but the minimum quantity is fixed. So you can't have 10 grams or 20 grams, you need to have minimum 1 kg as of current context.
Yeah, does trading in ETF work the same way just like you trade in, let's say, shares or SIP, or does it work in the same form, or do you need to have different accounts and different types of accounts?
Okay, Hemant, you want to take that?
No, you actually, if you have a demat account for the stock, you can use the same account for buying gold ETF. And yes, you are absolutely right. It works exactly the way you would buy or sell stocks. So it's very simple and easy if you are familiar with buying stock on the stock market.
But yeah, okay.
So I want to talk to you about real estate. Very of Indians, are, like you mentioned, Indians love our real estate. We all want to have a hand in that pie. But how should they go about it? Because the ticket size, the investment ticket size is really huge. So how can a everyday investor work towards real estate?
So real estate first of two types. One is that I'm buying for my personal consumption, so my residential property. So that's not an investment. That's pure for personal consumption. So for that what you do is that first of all, whenever you buy real estate, you need to pay some down payment, right? So down payment, how do you build that corpus, right? So the best way to build a corpus for down payment is to do an SIP. Okay, so if I know that okay, I want to buy a house after 5 years, okay, so I have a 5-year time frame for which I need to have a down payment of XYZ amount, roughly say 20 lakh rupees. So what you should do is that if it's a 5-year goal, you can start an SIP in something called as a balance fund, right, where you keep on investing say 20,000, 30,000 rupees every month, so that in 5 years you get some lump sum corpus which you can use to pay a down payment, and you can take a housing loan and and keep on paying the EMIs and get a house.
In simple layman terms, what is inflation? And because you'll read it in the paper, you see X%, Y%, but it's quite confusing. So what is inflation? How do you explain?
Let me explain in a very simple manner. You invest a lakh of rupees. Let's say put money in a lakh in fixed deposit for 5 years, and it gives you a return of 8%. Okay, and the inflation, we keep hearing that okay, the cost is going up by 8%. So why do you get interest? You get interest because you are compromising on utilizing that money. You keeping that aside, giving it to the bank. The bank is giving it to somebody who can start his business, and of course bank is making money. 5 years down the line, you realize that you got, let's say, 1,40,000 rupees, just giving a number, and suppose you wanted to use that 1 lakh rupees for buying something, okay, and when you go back after 5 years to buy the same thing, that also cost 1,40,000. So what did you gain? Nothing. 5 years you compromise or not using that money. After 5 years you end up buying the same thing for the same amount which you have got from the bank. I think that is what inflation does.
So if a person doesn't want to directly invest in equity, you have the option of mutual funds. Now there's always a lot of confusion. People think that they are two different asset classes also at times. But basically mutual funds are a vehicle to invest in equities. So if you could shed some light on that, could you simplify mutual funds for us?
Mutual fund is like a package, where you decide what exactly you want. You want to invest for short term, there's a mutual fund for you. You want to invest for medium term, there's a mutual fund for you. You want to invest for long term, there's a mutual fund for you. So if I talk detail about equity mutual fund. So equity mutual fund, what they do is that in equity there are various types of mutual fund. One is called as large cap mutual fund, one is called as mid cap mutual fund, and one is called as small cap mutual fund. So what large cap mutual fund do is that they only invest in large companies. So large company means they only invest top 100 companies by market capitalization. So a large cap fund, a fund manager will invest on top 100 companies. Now it's his decision whether to buy Infosys or TCS. But what he will do, he will only buy large cap companies. So when you give a money to a mutual fund manager, okay, invest for me in large cap companies, so he will only invest in large cap companies. But which company to select is his call. Same thing if you want to invest in mid cap companies. You give money to a mutual fund manager saying that you only invest in mid cap companies. So then he will only invest in mid cap. Same thing goes for small cap. So mutual fund gives you a broad mandate that where I can invest. Right, so you select that, okay, you want to invest in large cap, you want to invest in mid cap, you want to invest in small cap, or you want to only invest in particular sector.
I will ask the question to both of the experts. If they have to invest, whether they will invest in a mutual fund or equity, which is more beneficial, more risky?
So personally, if I look at my own investment, I always invest in mutual funds. So what is mutual fund and what's direct equity? Say for example, if you're full time in equity market. If you know how to read balance sheet, okay, there are 6,000 companies listed in the stock market. So if you have expertise to understand the balance sheet, if you have time to read the 6,000 companies balance sheet and pick up the company which is good for you, fundamentally and everything, then you can invest directly. But if you don't have time and if you don't have knowledge, then don't try to do that. Invest in a mutual fund.
Hemant, your call?
Well, my answer would be, I think it's not either or. It can be actually both. I tell you why. Suppose you like pharma industry, or you like IT industry. As an individual investor, you may pick some stocks, couple of stocks, okay? But there will be many other companies outside these two which will actually benefit when the sector does well. So what you can do is actually you can supplement your stock portfolio through the mutual fund. Now for example, if you decide, okay, I want to invest 100,000 rupees in, let's say, pharma industry or banking industry, you buy one or two stocks, supplement that portfolio with a banking fund. But do that only if you're able to decide which stock and which sector to invest in. If you can't, then mutual fund is the best option. The reason for that is a good fund manager will also always make sure that he keeps changing his portfolio, realigning his portfolio depending on what is going to work for you, what is not going to work for you.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're watching NSE FinViz, powered by Cnbc TV 18. Welcome back. This is NSE FinViz, powered by Cnbc TV 18, and today we are with the employees of Ruchi Soya Industries.
I've been investing in SIP for past 3 years, and now I have a question about whether I should exit it, revise it, or what are the parameters and what should be the benchmark so that I can compare it with other SIPs, or how should I go about it, or shall I take all the money out of it?
Okay, Nikhil, over to you.
So the first question is always comes from why invest in this purpose? What is the purpose of investing in it? If the purpose was that you need this money after 3 years, then you need money, so you have to withdraw it. There's no question whether I should hold it or redeem it. But if you're very clear that you need this money after 10 years, then why redeem it today? Hold it for 10 years, you will be able to make far better return than what you made in the last 3 years. So it all depends on what exactly your goal is. If you already achieve your goal amount that you needed, say 10 lakh rupees, and you already have 10 lakh rupees by now, redeem it and move in a fixed income because your goal is achieved. If your goal is not achieved and you know that, okay, I need this money after 10 years, then don't do anything now. Hold it for 10 years and you'll make far more money than that.
Do you suggest investing in penny stocks, as the investment would be less for a starter, but I'm not sure about the return part, so I would like to know about the penny stock thing.
You must have heard experts or people talking about the valuations are cheap, okay, buy those stocks. We talk about valuation, not the price. Unfortunately, we always mistake it that if there is a stock which is available at 5 rupees, okay, we say, okay, how much it will fall? You're buying at 5, so I'm going to make a lot of money. Believe me, it can come down to maybe 1 rupee, and when you try to sell that stock, you won't even have a buyer. So, penny stock investment is very, very risky.
Okay. Hemant, I want to also talk to you about PPFs. So this is a good mechanism, but people are always wondering, should I get into PPF? Is it worth it? What's your take on investing in PPFs and EPFs? So EPFs and PPFs.
Well, EPF is kind of mandatory.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we have voluntary contribution to EPF. That's only because we get a guaranteed return in that.
Yeah.
The problem with us is that this is one area of life where we want to remain traditional. Everywhere else we want to become modern. Imagine when you want to buy a mobile phone, you do so much research. You want the latest model. You want to buy a TV, you want to buy the latest model. When it comes to investment, I'm very, very traditional. I'll go to good old EPF, PPF and fixed deposit. I think it's important for us to become modern even in our thinking in terms of investment. We need to start looking beyond traditional options. EPF is a great option. Obviously, wherever is compulsory, don't go for voluntary contribution. PPF again is a wonderful debt product because you get guaranteed return, you get tax-free return. But imagine if you were to invest in PPF for 15 years and invest a lot of money in that, and compare that again, come back to investing through SIP in equity fund or a balance fund, your returns are going to be much, much more. And they're both comparable in terms of tax efficiency, because the return from a balance fund and equity fund is also tax-free, and the return from PPF is also tax-free. Now, if we talk about tax benefit, PPF gives you a tax benefit. You have equity-linked savings scheme offered by mutual funds. So you can actually start investing in those. So I feel that, if you do an asset allocation depending on your time horizon for each goal, I think that's a better way. Rather than saying, okay, if I'm investing for 20 years for my retirement, 40% has to be in debt, 60% has to be in equity. It's not necessary.
As a part of the Aam Janta, we have access to very limited information. It would either be through news channels or maybe through newspapers that we can find out alright whether the market is going up or if it's going down. So first question is, what are the sources of info that you would probably recommend for people like us who cannot keep a track of what is happening at the daily level? And secondly, how do we decide to hold on to something or to let go? Like you said, people would get emotional. Alright, I've invested my money in this, maybe it will go up someday. So how do we strike that balance between holding on and letting go?
Okay.
Thank you.
Nikhil, you want to take?
Yeah. So first of all, whenever you're investing, as we discussed, have a goal in mind. So if you have if you have a long-term goal, then the thing is that then you have to invest in asset classes which is for long-term. And short-term volatility will keep on happening. So if market is going up or going down in short term, it should not worry you because if your goal is for long term. If your goal for short term, then you have to concern that okay, whether markets are all-time high, and if I've already achieved my goal, take out that money. That's one parameter how you know that where exactly what I should do. Second thing what you discuss about is that how I know whether it's good or bad in terms of stock. So that's one thing. If you don't have a time and you don't have the expertise, don't go and invest directly in the stock market. Go through a mutual fund route, so that you have a diversified portfolio where the fund manager does all the job in terms of which stock to buy, when to sell, and you are giving money to a fund manager who does this job on behalf of you.
Before we wind up, we have a viewer question. A viewer wrote in to us with this question. His name is Harshvardhan Mundle. He's 31 years old. He's from Mumbai. He's asking about home loans. So he says he wants to know which is a home loan, a good home loan that he should get. How will it benefit him? And more importantly, he's saying how can I save tax on principal and interest? So Nikhil, you want to start?
Okay. So in home loan, first I'll talk on taxation.
Yeah.
Under section 80C, whatever principal component you pay comes under section 80C up to 1.5 lakh rupees. You get exemption that. And on the interest component up to 2 lakh rupees, you get an exemption of whatever interest you are paying through the EMIs. So you get a taxation benefit on both the sides, on the principal as well as the interest.
Well, that's about all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Hemant. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for having us here. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for having us here. Thank you.
Definitely more informative about my investments. I have already done SIP and all this, but I'm not so much informative that like says that you have to informative about your investments. You have to ask the your fund manager that what exactly you are investing, why my fund is not raising.
As a whole, it was a great experience. I truly believe that it's very much helpful educating for youngsters like us who really want to know how the investment should be done, how they should plan their portfolios, what should be the horizon, how should they plan their investments. It was really great in that sense.
Experience was pretty good. We got a lot of information regarding equities, how to invest into funds, and what all kinds of funds are risky, and what actually a layman should do.
Well, that's all on this episode of NSE Pinvest powered by Cnbc TV 18. If you have any questions for our experts, please feel free to email us at fwq@network18online.com. Until next week from the entire team, many thanks for watching.